Om Namaste. Welcome, everyone. So wonderful to be here again. The third time of the day for our Navaratri online Goddess Festival. Hello. There is Mora Devi again. Hello. Hello, Ulrika. Om Sandrine. Hello, Anna. Hello, Freya. Hello, Annalie. Hello, Vanessa. Raquel, she's back. Navaratri goddess from last year. Hello, Caroline. Heroine journey. First participant. Beautiful. Hello, Beatrice. Warm welcome. Hello, Susanne. Hello, Lynn. Warm welcome. Annelie, Diana, Natalie, and Brigitte, and Caro, and Radha, and Aisha. And Sol, welcome Sol, so good to have you here. Hello Lynn, Mor, Ulrika, Alexandra, Karina, Itzel, Erle. So many, so beautiful that you're all with us here. I have my beautiful sister here next to me, Melanie, and another beautiful sister, Rahel. They're peekabooing here and joining us for the concert that we are delighted with tonight. By a very beautiful and one-of-a-kind Kirtan devotee, singer. Words fall short. I've met Prema quite a few years ago. We have common friends, dear community in Sweden, in Shambhala gatherings that are also our sacred collaborators. Our deep gratitude to Shambhala, where I also host my annual Sacred Women's Retreat. And I think it was there where we met the first time, or at Engspaki. I don't even remember anymore, but it was quite a few years ago, and we immediately felt each other. There was from the very beginning that love, that knowing, that deep reverence that is just there when you are on the spiritual journey. There is a recognition there. There's an understanding that goes beyond words, really, but it's felt. And Prema Devi, she literally was born in a spiritual family. Not that there's any family that is not spiritual. All families are spiritual, but not all families really are aware, like would mention or say that they are spiritual. So from the Vedic standpoint, there's nothing aspiritual. We're all spiritual beings, but we're not all aware that we are really on a spiritual journey as human beings. And so in the case of Prema, she was born into a family that was very much aware of their innate relationship to the divine, a mother and a father dedicated to being devotees and in service to God, goddess, especially to Krishna and to Radha. And she was born, I definitely know that she was born grew up, raised in an ashram where life was all about sacrifice and offering, and not sacrifice in that sense which we may grow up with, that it's painful and horrible and I have to sacrifice. No, the sacrifice here, it's out of love, the love for the divine, the love for the gifts of life, the love for being incarnated and being able to dance to the song and the music of Krishna and Radha, and enjoy and join the sacred Leela, the sacred play of life. And so she was raised there as gopis. And so she's just this wonderful, wonderful being. I'm so happy that she's again with us here, also for the third time during Navaratri. She travels around the world, offering Kirtan in festivals, online, live, and also helping women and supporting people to integrate a spiritual way of living into their day-to-day life. So thank you so much for being here again, Prema. And I'm going to give over to you in a moment, unless Dr. Shari is here, because the plan was to have first a beautiful poem presented by Dr. Shari, but I think there might have been some difficulties with the internet, some obstacle there. So that poem that was prepared by Dr. Shari, which I will introduce if she comes later, we will offer that at the end then of this Kirtan and this evening. So I'd love to hear, before we give over to Prema, how are you, everyone? How has been your first day in the Navaratri festival? Anything that touched your heart? Anything that you were like resisting and getting angry, or like, how can she say this? Like, everything is welcomed here. All the emotion, all the sacred emotions are welcome. I'd love to just hear from you. Please write in the chat any moment, or an aha moment, or something that you're grateful for, or maybe you have a wish that you would like us to include, anything that we're missing. So just reading here. Grateful for Shireen and love positivism. She brought me here. Yes, I love Shireen very much. I'm happy that she brought you here. Embracing the beauty and strong hearts of the goddess and us women. Beautiful. Yes. And just see, maybe words come, and if not, you can also unmute yourself for a moment and just share a few words through the voice instead of written words, if that is easier. Susanna is saying, had the most peaceful and lovely birthday, full of love and gratitude. Right, it's your birthday today. We saw that on the Instagram, right? Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Susanne. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday. Happy Earth Day.
Thank you so much.
How wonderful to celebrate birthday, Earth Day, with the beginning of Navaratri. Thank you for celebrating it with us. What is your greatest wish right now in your heart? And then we can all wish that for you, if you want to share with us. If you have any wish, anything, and then we can visualize and envision that for you.
Well, that's a very big wish. It's peace on earth. Because it's really touching what's happening right now around the world. And I just pray for that every day.
Beautiful. So we can all envision that, because we have that power, and especially when we come together as a collective, our powers, our prayers are much, much more stronger and powerful. So how would peace on earth look like? What would you see? Like, if we would have peace on earth, what would you see? How do you see people treating each other? What do you hear? How do people talk to each other? How do people touch each other? And hold that so strong in your heart. And then we see if we can do that today, in this moment, when I touch next time my friend, when I look at my friend the next time, and when I say something the next time. And that's how we bring peace on earth. Thank you for that wish. Om Tathastu. Sandrine is saying, really beautiful first day. I feel so happy to be connected again. Thank you for this offering. Much love. Thank you, Sandrine. A beautiful Bali sister. Melanie is saying, I'm so touched in heart. I feel vulnerable, open and filled with love. Ready for a deep journey with you all. We had lots of tears today in our eyes, tears of gratitude. Macarena is saying, blessed to be able to join today. Lots of tears. Feeling held by the mother and happy to see you today. I love you, Macarena. Also, Harin's journey goddess and be woman sister, and an enlightened doctor. Caroline, hello, Davies. I'm joining for the first time today, and I'm so grateful to be here. Happy Navaratri. Thank you, Sharada Devi and beautiful Davies. Lots of love. Vanessa is saying, feeling a sense of reconnection and so grateful to be able to go deeper in the upcoming days in service for life herself. Thankful for your offering that takes me by the hand to do that. So beautiful. Thank you, Vanessa. Beautiful. So beautiful to read from you. So please let your words come through anytime you feel touched or something comes up. Just share it in the chat. And so we also feel each other through the words, the power of words. So with this, it feels now the moment to give over to our dearest Prema Devi and dive into her grace. Oh, warm welcome.
Oh, so beautiful. Namaste, everyone. My respects and honor to each one of you. What a joy to see all these beautiful faces and feel your spirit even through this medium of Zoom. It's pretty amazing. What a creation to come together in these times. So like Sharada Devi was telling a little bit how we met a long time ago, and absolutely it was just instant connection. I felt so grateful to share with you in these sacred places that we met. And here we are in this other sacred environment. And so beautiful what you've created and how you bring the beauty of puja, which is such an essential part of opening doors for devotion. It's such a way to invite divinity, you invite your eyes, your senses to participate. So it's a really powerful practice, these pujas. So I'm super grateful and very happy. I love Sweden. When I went to Sweden the first time, everybody I met, even my son was saying like, I'm in love with everybody here. Everybody's so gentle heart, and just, it was so special energy in Sweden. So I'm so happy that Johan just invited me for next year for the Midsummer Festival. So I hope to see you there if you can make it. So let's see what's gonna happen. But I would love to begin with an invocation to invite my guides and open the space in a sacred way and invoke the blessings of all these personalities that I have been worshiping for so many years. Thank you. Vandeham Shri Guru Sri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupa Sagrajata Sahagana Raghunatamitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaita Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitam Shri Vishakam Vitam Shri Vishakam Vitam Jai Shri Radhe. So this, as you know, sacred sound vibration is so potent. And when we add our own emotions and our own respect and honor and relationship, sambandha. Sambandha is relationship to divinity, to the self, to the universe. So when this relationship is cultivated over time, this devotion begins to become a real thing, becomes very living, is alive. It's not a concept, it's not a practice, it's a living aspect of life. It's very alive. So for me, this relationship has been cultivated since I was a kid, like Sharda was sharing. I wasn't born into it, but I was introduced at 8 years old, which is a very, very important time in life when you're starting to like really discover you and ask questions. I was actually in a Catholic school, so there was very religious, very about God. So I had so many questions. And my brother was a yogi from when I was born. So I had that introduction from when I was little. And I used to watch him do meditation. And when my cat died and I was devastated, my brother said, oh, the spirit that you loved so much is moved on to another body. And that was my first spiritual awakening. For me, it was like, wow, we're eternal beings. So this cultivation to divinity is eternal. So the more we really go deep into who's your Ishtadev, who's your object of worship, who's that? Create a really strong relationship with her, because that's where you're going to discover from that foundation, you discover you discover your purpose, you discover your beauty, your strength, your unlimitlessness. Especially in these times, right? When we feel like we're hanging on a thread of the impermanence. We just don't know what's going to happen from one moment to the next. But your solidness, your roots should be very strong in that relationship. Once you feel solid in that sambandha with your Ishtadev, your love, who you worshipped, you can be put anywhere, because your dedication is that. Your life is about that. And then everything else that comes along your life is just a little spice to sweeten that relationship, that sambandha. So that's devotion. And devotion is developed through puja, through offerings, through singing. You know, when we sing these prayers, they become part of you. They're the bones that hold you in life. So then you become really solid. Doesn't matter what happens. Doesn't matter when you die, how you're gonna die. Your focus, your relationship, your everything is that relationship. And so much sweetness comes from that. That's when devotion becomes very alive. And one of my teachers used to say, devotion becomes that with the number one ingredient, which is Sharanagati. Sharanagati is surrender. You surrender. And that's a really big aspect to even question. So what does that mean? How do we surrender? And each day, life is going to present a way to understand what that means. So we have to listen carefully. We have to pay attention. What is life bringing today? What is life offering? And do this reciprocation with life. We wake up in the morning and I bow down, I touch the forehead. That's the first thing I do. On my bed, I wake up. Before I can even open my eyes, I just turn around and I touch my forehead to the ground. Then you set the intention. I'm here to offer myself. When you offer yourself, that level of Sharanagati is Atmani Vedanam. I offer me to you, the goddess. I'm all here for you. And then we can begin to understand, wow, what is this wealth that I carry within me? And she will begin to open the little doors like, oh, you want more of this? Okay, here it is. I let you in a little bit more. And it's not always comfortable. Sometimes we have to go through the fire, right? Sometimes the fire is necessary to burn layers of conceptions, layers of ego, to really taste the sweetness. So, yeah, so I want to invite you. My relationship has been very strong with Radha, the aspect of the goddess. And in my path of bhakti, Vaishnavism, Radha and Krishna are the topmost of what that relationship is about. Radha is Ladini Shakti. She is the embodiment of love. Krishna is Rasaraj. He's the taster, the embodiment of rasa. Rasa means all the flavors of ecstasy. So if you can imagine that there's flavors to ecstasy, unlimited flavors of ecstasy, that's who Krishna is. The embodiment of that, that's this blue personality. And the Radha is his heart. Without her, he cannot create, he cannot do anything. So she's really the creator. She's the one that sustains everything. So today I'm going to share a song. I'm not going to do the whole Ashtakam. Ashtakam is a glorification to Radha. And there's many verses. So I'm going to do a few just to give you a little flavor. And this Ashtakam was composed by Lord Shiva and sang it to Parvati. It's a really incredible prayer. And when we do pilgrimage, which is coming on the full moon of October, we do this month-long pilgrimage. And since I can't go there, I've been doing it online for people. And so in this month of Urjva Vrata, where we do a month of Vrata and we do all these prayers, we sing this Ashtakam to Radha because she's the force for this month. So the refrain of this is Kada karishyasi hamam kripa kataksha bhajanam. And it is saying, oh, when will you give me the grace of your xylem glands? This is Lord Shiva asking for her xylem glands. And the teachers, they explain, why is this, what is it about the xylem glands? So love is a very mysterious, very hidden experience, right? Even when you meet somebody, you cannot enter with the intellect in a relationship. It's all about the heart. Everything goes out the window. What you think that is correct, incorrect, you just in love. So the same with divinity, they're experiencing the highest level of what love is. They are love, and we are a little drop of that love. Just like the ocean, when you take a drop of the ocean, has the same qualities of the ocean. So we are a drop of love. So when we connect with that source of love, then we get to taste it. So this xylem glands, is the meaning of it is this kind of secret thing that you have going on. Give me that salt, let me in a little bit. It's a really beautiful prayer. I will leave it at that, and I will share it with you. And thank you so much for being with me in this moment. Munindra Vrinda Pandite Triloka Shoka Harini Prasana Bhaktra Pankaje Nikunja Bhuvilasini Brajendra Vano Nandini Brajendra Sunu Sangate Kadakarisha Sihamam Kripa Kataksha Bhajanam Ashoka Vriksha Valari Pitana Mandapastite Pravala Vala Palamam Pravarunam Vikomale Paravayas Kare Prabhuta Sampadalaye Kadakarisha Sihamam Kripa Kataksha Bhajanam Anangaranga Mangala Prasanga Bangura Brugam Sabibramam Sasambramam Brigantavana Patanai Nirantaram Vashikrita Padhanandanandane Kadakarisha Sihamam Kripa Kataksha Bhajanam Kadakarisha Sihamam Kripa Kadakarisha Sihamam Kripa Kataksha Bhajanam 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 Kadakarisha Sihamam Kripa Kataksha Bhajanam. Jai Shri Radhe. Now we like to share another chant also to Radha. And I just want to be conscious of the time. So how many minutes do I have?
Still have 15 minutes, 15, 20 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Actually longer, I mean, because we started a little bit later, so I'm going to take half an hour. If that feels good for me. Yeah.
Oh, I don't want to disturb the process, but also if you have any questions or anything, maybe somebody can let me know if there's questions. I'll be happy to answer or share. And this is another prayer that was written by a great saint named Srila Gaura Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj. And he was completely drunk in love for Radha and Krishna, to such an extent that that's all he could see. He only saw Radha and Krishna and everything. So he was a very unique person. He was a Babaji in Vrindavan. So maybe you've heard Vrindavan. Vrindavan is the land of Radha and Krishna. And specifically, the presiding deity in Vrindavan is Radha. So you see her name written in every wall, written on the trees, and everybody greets each other. Radhe, Radhe. Everything is Radhe. And even when people are upset with each other, they go Radhe, 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 Radhe. Or out of the way, Radhe, Radhe. The rickshawalas go Radhe, Radhe. So that, to get people out of the way. So that's how strong her presence is in Vrindavan. And I remember one time before I went, somebody said to me, if a monkey comes to attack you, because there's lots of monkeys in Vrindavan, just go Radhe Radhe, just always chant her name, and the monkeys won't attack you. And I wasn't sure if I could fully believe that. It was kind of scary because there's a lot of monkeys in Vrindavan. And if you're carrying a bag with fruits or they hear any kind of plastic sound, they know you're carrying goods. So they'll jump on you and take your bag. And I'm walking once and I see this big monkey coming towards me with showing me his teeth. And I just closed my eyes and I went, Radhe, 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 Radhe. And the monkey stopped right as he got close to me and he just walked off. So I fully believed it after that. It's a reality. All the animals in Vrindavan, they're completely conscious of Radha. Like some of the temples, after sunset, you're not meant to enter because they say Radha and Krishna is like a little forest. There's this place called Sevakunj, this little forest, and they have a small little shrine in the middle of this forest. And there's beds for Radha and Krishna to rest that night. So it is said, after sunset, nobody can enter this place. And the monkeys guarded. You will be attacked by the monkeys if you enter. So it's really amazing to see how tuned into they are to that service and personality. So this Babaji, Srila Gaurakishore Das Babaji Maharaj, was always just immersed in Radha and Krishna. And sometimes when people would be mad at him and throw stones at him because they thought he was crazy, because he was always chanting Radha and Krishna's names and he was always in bliss. So some people thought he's just a madman. So there were some people that would throw stones at him. And he thought that, Krishna's cowherd boys were throwing. And he would be like, hey, Krishna, tell Subal and Lalita. And, he would talk like this. He could only envision that it was them. That was his only vision. So he wrote this song that I'm going to share with you. And some of the chant is Radhe, 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 so you can sing with me. Just chant her name and feel her vibration of this Radha's name. Radhe, 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 Radhe. Radhe, 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 Jai Shri Radhe. Radhe, 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 Radhe. Radhe, 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 Jai Shri Radhe. Radhe, 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 Radhe. Kotai go Prema, Mayi, Radhe, Radhe. Radhe, 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 Radhe. Kotai go Prema, Mayi, Radhe, Radhe. Asta Saki Shiromani, Radhe, Radhe. Kanumana Mohini, Radhe, Radhe. Asta Saki Shiromani, Radhe, Radhe. Kanumana Mohini, Radhe, Radhe. Radhe, 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 Radhe. Radhe, 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 Jai Shri Radhe. Radhe, 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 Radhe. Radhe, 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 Rishabhanu Nandini Radhe 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 Jaya Shri Radhe 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 Kotai go Prema Mayi Radhe 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 Kotai go Prema Mayi Radhe 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 Jaya Shri Radhe Vrindavana Vilasini Radhe Radhe Rishabhanu Nandini Radhe Radhe Vrindavana Vilasini Radhe Radhe Rishabhanu Nandini Radhe 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 Jaya Shri Radhe 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 Kotai go Prema Mayi Radhe 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 Kotai go Prema Mayi Radhe 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 Jaya Shri Radhe 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 Jaya Shri Radhe Rishabhanu Nandini Radhe Radhe Sasaki Shiromani Radhe 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 Jaya Shri Radhe Rishabhanu Nandini Radhe 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 Jaya Shri Radhe Rishabhanu Nandini Radhe Radhe Sasaki Shiromani Radhe 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 Jaya Shri Radhe 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 Jaya Shri Radhe 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 Jaya Shri Radhe 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 Jaya Shri Radhe 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 Jaya Shri Radhe Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavane Jai Shri Radhe. Jai Shri Radhe. Thank you all so much for your presence. It's almost like I could hear you sing. I wish I could hear your voices. I hope someday we all meet together. Yes, I'm not sure if anybody wants to share anything or ask a question. A few more minutes. I didn't catch which Devi. So this is Radha. This chant is to Radha. Yes. So Radha is the goddess of love. She's known as the Ladini Shakti, the embodiment. If you can imagine love having a form, that is her. That is this Devi. And she's Krishna's consort. And in every incarnation that Krishna has taken, he's always coming with her in some form. Sorry, I can't really see the question. I do have plans to travel to Europe. I'm actually going in November. I'm mostly going to be taking care of my mother in Spain, but I will be taking sometimes little trips, and Sweden has always been one of my favorite places to go. I feel a real strong connection with the land and the people. So who knows, maybe we do some spontaneous little gathering. So if you want to invite me, I'll come over. I will be in England as well, doing a little gathering in Bath sometime in November, the beginning of November. So yeah, if you want to stay in touch with me, you can contact me through my website, premamayi.com, or I'm on Instagram, all those things. I'm not very good at keeping on it. Sometimes it's a little too much, but if you send me a personal message, I will definitely connect. Let's see. Wonderful, such lovely, lovely messages. Yeah, and I'm a very family person, so all the music that I've created on Spotify too, if you want to check my music, is being created with my sons. I even added my granddaughter singing. So yeah, for me, the family, staying connected to my family is very important. And, passing on what is of value, right? Which is love, truth. These are the most valuable aspects of life that we have. And that's the greatest inheritance that we can pass down to our children and our grandchildren. When my granddaughter was a little girl, she was like about 3 years old, and from when she could walk, she would hear the bell when I was doing puja in the morning, and she would come running and sit with me. And by the time she was 3, one time she said to me, because she would sit throughout the whole puja, and she calls me Mema. She goes, Mema, when you die, my daddy, her father is my son. She said, my daddy is going to take care of your altar. And then when he dies, I will take care of your altar because I know everything you do. And she really did know. She knew how to do achaman, purification of the hands and the items. And she could do it at 3. And she said, and when my daddy dies, I will take care of your altar. And when I die, before I die, I will teach my children to take care of your altar. And then she goes, that's how it works. So I'll leave you with that. Thank you all so much for being with me. Really grateful. Thank you, Sharada, for inviting me to your beautiful creation, this incredible platform you've created to invite such beautiful women. And I look forward to seeing you, giving you a hug, and sharing in person someday. So much love and blessings to you all. And I look forward to watching some of the videos of what's happening in this week. Many blessings, deeply grateful. Namaste.
Namaste, Prema ji. Dhanyaham. Dhanyavada. Thank you so much from all of us. What a beautiful story to end with. Oh, sweeter than the sweetest. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And wishing you all the best for your continued journey. And I also pray that we'll meet soon in person. I just told Melanie and Raha, let's go to midsummer to Sweden, which is very probable, very possible. That would be wonderful to celebrate midsummer together. Midsummer is a wonderful celebration in Sweden, in Scandinavia. And it's the celebration, also the day of where the winter is saying goodbye and we welcome the summer. You can correct me, my Swedish sisters here. And it's the festival of Freya. Like Freya is the goddess of love and fertility. And there's this beautiful ritual being done with the pole and the circle. And yeah, you just have to experience it. So wonderful. So it'd be wonderful to meet all in Shambhala gatherings. A wonderful community outside Stockholm. Yeah, so let's see what the goddess has in store for us. She keeps up with her surprises always. So Maha blessings for Navaratri. Thank you so much again, Prema.
Thank you. Pus pus.
Pus pus. Hey do. So we have here Dr. Shari. Dr. Shari, are you here? There she is. Warm welcome, Dr. Shari.
I am here.
You're here. You made it. The goddess brought
Yes.
you to us. So wonderful. Warm welcome, Dr. Shari. I'm so glad that you made it. I want to tell to our beautiful friends here a little bit about you, Dr. Shari. Dr. Shari and I, it was a beautiful story how we met. I've been on my journey of healing my cervix a few years ago, or since a long time, but reclaiming my cervical power. And I signed up for a course that I did. And the teacher in that course read a paper which was called the demonization of the feminine through words and the reclamation of the sacred feminine through words. So she took us through a variety of words like bitch, whore, etc., and showed us how all these words have been demonized and made basically evil. And this paper was written by Dr. Shari, and I was so fascinated with that paper because I love words. The goddess Saraswati is one of my favorite goddesses. I have a deep love for words, language, and passing on knowledge through words and other expressions as well. So when I saw that paper, I was reading it with all my heart and just was fascinated seeing the etymology and the history or the story of how these words have been demonized over the last 300-400 years or more. Dr. Shari will know better than I. And I was reading these words and really like how bitch and whore and prostitute and all these words have this demonized connotation. So I went online and I checked online, where is Dr. Shari? How can I get in touch with Dr. Shari? And then it was just marvelous somehow through a university where once upon a time she gave a lecture. I reached out to them if I could somehow get in touch with her. And they said, yes, here is her email. And I wrote to her. And a few days later, she writes back. And I was so happy that she wrote back. And then I invited her to join our Yoniverse festival, which we did a couple of years ago, dedicated to our yonis and vulvas and the reclamation of our sexuality. And so she's here today with us. And since then, I've been inviting her a few times into our programs that we hold throughout the year in Devi School. And she's just a wealth of knowledge. Her background is in is a lifelong interest in mythology. She holds a degree in Mythological Studies, depth psychology, English, history education, and broadcast journalism. An educator for over 30 years, she currently teaches short courses on myths at the OSHER Institute. And so you can read the whole bio in our detailed program, but best is just to meet her, and she will share a poem from the goddess with us tonight. So warm welcome, Dr. Shari.
Thank you. Thank you. Hello, everybody, in whatever time zone you find yourselves. It's about noontime here in New Mexico. So yes, I've been studying this stuff for some time. And what I found is that the demonization process basically began approximately 7,000 years ago. And so that makes it even more important for us to reclaim these holy and sacred words and take them back from patriarchal demonization. So yeah, definitely. So what I have for everyone today is a poem that I'm dedicating to this 9-day festival, and it is called Celebrate. Maid, princess, mother, queen, warrior, healer, priestess, crone, wise woman, cosmic womb, guardian guide of liminal spaces, crafter, maker, weaver, artist, creator, muse, musician, soul gatherer. You are the lover and the beloved. Mistress of the animals, you are fertility and death, youth and old age, all at once and rolled into one. To she whose abundance we see everywhere, to she whose cycles, which ebb and flow are without end, to she who is mistress of all, we honor and celebrate you.
What a beautiful poem, thank you. Did you write this, Dr. Shari?
Oh, absolutely, yes. It's really interesting because I really am a poetess too. One of the things that happens is and actually this happened with this poem. It's happened before when I wrote several poems about different goddesses, and the inspiration gets to the point to where it pushes me to such a point that I have to stop everything and it just comes spilling out. And that's exactly what happened with this poem. All of that came spilling out all at once. And I hope you agree with me that it did not need any revision, that it is as the goddess wanted me to give it in the original first form. So yeah, this is my own original work.
Thank you so much. You will be with us for the rest of the festival and the rest of our life. It would be lovely if you would want to share the words and we can share it in the community with everyone. And some have been asking here about the name of the paper we put it. It's called Evidence of the Demonization of the Feminine in Language. And if you would like, Dr. Shari, just a few minutes to share about this paper that you wrote, and I really pray for it to come out. And I mean, it is out, but even more, I know that you've been researching even more and maybe even bring it out as a book. Would you like to share a little bit about it?
Yes, sure. I have sent a proposal to Routledge Publishing to see to a specific editor and see if that will work. So, you know, I think one of the things that I taught included the crone archetype, working with the crone archetype, and that I was having a series of dreams where the crone was initiating me and taking me down and to work with my fear of rejection. And I've been working through that. And yes, I sent the proposal. So I face my fears and here we go. So these So the dissertation actually started 16 years before it was written, and I started doing this research. And the original thing that I had been thinking about was, I thought, as someone who was raised in a Christian tradition, that the demonization started with the Christian fathers. But as I gained more and more words, starting with Barbara Walker's Encyclopedia of Women's Myths and something else, and I started researching the words and going through her bibliography and to have more places to go, what I found out is that the 12 words in the dissertation, but the more than 200 that I actually have, the demonization process actually began as soon as patriarchal societies began to invade matriarchal societies. And I traced it back as far as the Indo-European peoples coming down off the steppes, and in 3 different directions. They went south and into the Aegean, and then we get the Greeks. They went, let's see, if I'm on the Russian steppes, east into like Russia and China, and then west into Europe. What I found is, using Greece as an example, as these Indo-European patriarchal cultures who were polytheistic, but the head deity was always a warrior thunder god. And as they moved into these matriarchal societies that worship the goddess, they started retelling the myths to justify their own invasion and taking power away from women, starting with the priestess queens and then spreading out to all women, taking their power, taking their rituals, retelling their myths so that goddesses and various queens are now evil. A good example is the story of Oedipus, which the original myth was a myth about how the goddess mates with a consort god, and that ritual is reenacted in a festival, an agricultural festival, to begin the new spring. And so this would also be a ritual, and it's called the Hieros Gamos, in which a male leader, who would be the consort of the priestess queen, who took on the embodiment of the goddess, he would be chosen as worthy because his job was to protect the fertility of the land, of the people, of the animals, and to protect the goddess and listen to her wisdom. Then when he would become, when it was noticed that his virility was beginning to decline, he would be ritually sacrificed and a new consort would be appointed. Basically, this myth of Oedipus is about that. In the version that we are familiar with, when he's a baby, his father goes to the oracle and wants to get an oracle, a prophecy about his son, and he learns that his son is going to kill him. So different versions show the father getting rid of the son in different ways. One is that he's exposed on a hillside, and a shepherd finds him, takes him to his home, and he and his wife raise the child. He's somehow adopted by a different queen and king. One day, as a young man, Orestes is traveling along a road where 3 roads meet. And those 3 roads always symbolize the dark goddess, the underworld goddess, the crone goddess Hecate. And it's always about, oh, things are going to change rapidly here, and not necessarily in a way we like. But anyway, he meets an old man coming in one of the other directions, and they meet in the middle, and neither will yield. neither will give way. And it leads to a fight, and Oedipus kills the old man, who turns out to be his father. Oedipus has to run away. So he's headed basically towards Thebes, that is undergoing not a famine, but basically a pandemic. And he sees this supernatural being sitting up on a cliff who asks him a question that if he can answer, he can pass freely. But if he cannot answer, he will be killed. And the question is, what walks on all fours in the morning, on two legs at noon, and on three in the evening? And Oedipus was able to answer it correctly, and the answer is man. So he's able to go to Thebes. That it's ruled by a queen who's recently been widowed. And so Oedipus, being a young man, they marry and they have children. The pandemic is healed. There is plenty, fertility, and abundance. Okay. That begins to decline. So in goddess tradition, it would be right to ritually sacrifice him and replace him. However, when the patriarchal Indo-Europeans come into the area, they change the myth. They focus on the fact that Oedipus has married his mother, but they don't focus on the fact that this is mythological and it is about the goddess marrying, keeping the cycle of life going. Okay, that when the father dies, that actually the father is reborn through her and she marries him again, but it's in the form of the son. Sounds very much like the Christian Christmas story, but anyway, with some variations. Anyway, so these Indo-European patriarchal peoples demonized Oedipus, the Hieros Gamos ritual, his mother, for them marrying, and have her poking out her eyes, and then she kills herself. And Oedipus, she kills herself, Oedipus is blinded, and then he has to leave. So this is an example of how patriarchal cultures will demonize the local mother goddess traditions, and so that they can impose their own. And then they through the myths, through law, through inheritance, they take the power away from the women and they concentrate it all within themselves. So these various words like bitch, that's a really good example, because in most ancient times, in various language, that was a title of the goddess. And her sacred totem animal then would have been the dog. Hecate is an example of this because Carabus, the three-headed dog who guards her cosmic womb, the entrance to the underworld. Where was I going? Okay, the entrance to the underworld. This would have been a title of hers, to be bitch goddess. Another one that I like but haven't found very much information on is, in English, it's called the twat, but in Egyptian, it was the tuat or the duat. And that is the underworld of the goddess Nut. She's a sky goddess, but she's also the underworld goddess. And she would swallow Ra as the sun set. He would enter the portals of her, and she would swallow him. He would travel with guardians, starting with Isis and Nephthys. He would travel through the 12 hours of the underworld to be rejuvenated and then reborn out of the duat at sunrise in the form of Horus. So the duat is very, very sacred in Egypt, but it became demonized by patriarchy, and now it's a word that 13-year-old boys like to snicker and use, thinking they're so funny, calling the vagina, the twat. So that's another example. I'm trying to think I really like that one. Whore is one of my favorite ones because it's a demonized word that in different Middle Eastern countries, one example would be the Akkadian language. It was actually khar, spelled Qar, and it meant priestess. And a priestess who was khar served the goddess for a number of years. And there were ranks of the goddess, some of whom could not have children during their term of service. Others could bear children for this level of priestess. And if that was the case, when it became time for the priestess who got pregnant to deliver, it would be delivered, and the phrase would be on my knees. So the child would, after delivery, would be laid on the knees of the priestess, of the higher priestess. The priestess would declare the child hers, and then that child would become her heir. What's interesting about this is that in the research that I've conducted, in the Old Testament, Sarah, Rachel, and Rebecca, the evidence even that's in the Bible, points to them as being these high-ranking priestesses of the goddess, and that there was a grove sacred, and Sarah was goddess in that grove. It's interesting that in the Old Testament, each of these women are barren for a number of years until their husbands prayed to the husband's god, not to the goddess, to open their wife's womb. And suddenly Sarah at 99 gives birth to Isaac. 99 is being used mythologically here, and it refers to her terms of service having ended, so now she could have children. Rebecca, it's Rachel. It's Rachel. Rachel, it's a very interesting story because it's Jacob who meets her and wants to marry her. And she says, well, you have to get permission from my uncle. So he travels to the uncle who says, you have to serve me for 7 years. 7, again, is a mythical number of a completion of transformation. And at the end of 7 years, then you can have Rachel's hand in marriage. Rachel has an older sister, Leah, who the uncle is afraid, well, he'll never find a husband for her because she has some kind of facial deformity. So on the day of the wedding between Jacob and Rachel, the bride comes in, veil covering her face. The ceremony is conducted. Jacob lifts the veil, and it's Leah. So Jacob toils another 7 years so that he can marry Rachel. And this time it happens. Okay, her uncle doesn't pull another trick. However, after Jacob has married Rachel, he plans to go back to his homeland with both of his wives. They are sisters, so they are loading all of their stuff, getting ready to be part of the caravan to go back to his homeland. At this time, it was still a matrilineal society. So wealth and power symbols, the household gods, were passed down from mother to daughter. And in this particular culture, it was passed to the youngest daughter, not the oldest child. So Rachel is packing things up, and she's packing the household gods that she knows her uncle wants to take from her so he can take the power and now have the backing of the household gods to rule the household. So what she does is she wraps them in a cloth, she puts them under a camel saddle, and she sits on top of it. He comes into the tent, he looks everywhere, but he will not come near her or the saddle because she might be in her period. And the tradition was evolving that woman's blood was impure. So she saved the household gods using his own tradition against him, and she and Leah were able to take their own gods with them to Jacob's homeland. And in the case of both Leah and Rachel, you see that they have a period of time that they don't get pregnant, and they send their handmaidens into him. And so he has children by handmaids and by both wives, and there are 12 children altogether. So these are some examples of transition period and demonization process that has happened around the globe. Hopefully we are now beginning to reclaim these words. When I was teaching high school and a kid would be upset with me and call me a bitch, I'd always thank him. Because I say, you know, I know you don't know the background, but thank you, because I know I've done my job. And I'm honoring the goddess here. So hopefully we are reclaiming the power of these sacred names. And we are all in different countries here. Here in America, we are seeing a very unfortunate backlash against the women having power over their own bodies. And if you are familiar with what's happened, Roe v. Wade, the Supreme Court, and illegally, I might say, they violated at least 4 of the amendments to our Constitution in saying Roe v. Wade doesn't apply anymore, that it's not the federal government that decides, it's the states that decide. So I can go into all of the ways that that's illegal, but it renders women's bodies back to being an object whose the fate of which can be decided by a husband, a minister, father, brother, as to whether or not a woman can have a child, as to whether or not she can have an abortion for whatever reason. The right over her own body has been taken away and objectified. So, you know, there's a lot of women's organizations that really has activated us, so that when we get ready to have elections in November, that we can stop some of this stuff, and that we're trying to stop some of it now. So we can see that patriarchy does not go quietly. It does not go quietly, and it's very reactionary. It uses its own monotheism to justify why it feels it has the power to take away women's power over themselves and rightful place in the world. So, I mean, I could go on and talk for hours here on the history of the different words, but I really hope that worldwide we are in a period now really of reclamation, and that the reactionary spirit is not uncommon, but it's very out of balance. And among other things, besides just reclamation, is bringing the sacred feminine back to the point to where it is reintegrated and it's in balance with the sacred masculine, that both are there and one is not suppressing the other. Because quite frankly, even though Christianity has tried to destroy the sacred feminine, it cannot be destroyed. I'm thinking of the book of Revelation in the New Testament, and well, okay. In the New Testament, it's really, really interesting. When Jesus is crucified, he spends three days in the underworld. In original language of the New Testament, it's described as harrowing hell. Harrowing is plowing. So what he's doing is he is He is impregnating the sacred feminine and then returns, is resurrected, is rejuvenated and reborn. And so they can't destroy the sacred feminine, so they try to demonize the heck out of it. Hell, despite everything that it's been, the ways it's been demonized by Christianity, hell is actually the name of a Norse goddess. She is the goddess of one of the 9 worlds of Norse mythology. And it is this world to which those who don't die in battle go after they die. And it's a kind of a dark and gloomy place, but those who die have mansions where they wait to be reborn. Those who die in battle are the ones that are taken by the Valkyrie and taken to Valhalla. But Hel, with one L, was the goddess, the ruler of her own world. And through a series of the Christianization of the Norse world, Freya, among others, we get the word in English, Friday is named after Freya. Her sacred number is the number 13. 13 is a very lunar, moon-related, and sacred to the goddess. Lunar calendars are 13 months long. Yeah, 13 months long. I had to stop and think. The solar calendar is 12. So 13 is sacred to the goddess and was not an unlucky number. And of course, it was demonized right along with several other things to be considered unlucky, which it's not at all, but it was a way to take away power from the feminine. So these rituals in the springtime in Sweden to celebrate Freya, to renew the spring fertility and honor her as the goddess of love. Unfortunately, one of the ways that 13 was demonized is in the history of the Templar Knights. There's this whole big, long history of them. To shorten it, the King of France at the time that the Templars existed owed them money, and he didn't want to pay them back. So he decided to accuse them of blasphemy against Christianity and sent his soldiers and papal soldiers to raid the temples in France because he thought there was like money and jewels and treasure in these temples, to arrest them because they were blasphemous and therefore not Christian, and find the money and not have to pay them back anything. Supposedly this happened on a Friday the 13th. And many of the Templars who stayed in those temples were either killed or arrested and then tortured and put to death. But they stayed so that some could get away with what this supposed treasure was. It is thought in the book Holy Blood, Holy Grail that this treasure actually is a family tree showing the genealogy of Jesus and Mary Magdalene, and that they did have offspring, and that the offspring was a girl, and that Mary Magdalene and Joseph of Arimathea and this young child made it to France, and that she actually, according to the mythology, married what became the Merovingian kings. So we see the goddess everywhere. The goddess is everywhere and cannot be denied. I mean, people try to ignore it, but you cannot be destroyed. So my hope is with the reclamation of all of these words, and that we sit with confidence within our own power, regardless of what we're called. So, any questions? I have a weird computer. There may be some on the chat line.
There is a lot
Okay.
of gratitude.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
So the third woman, Sarah, Rachel, and Rebecca. Rebecca is the third woman. Okay. I'm kind of scrolling backwards. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, I've gotten to the beginning. I'm glad people were touched by this poem, because I was definitely touched as the words were coming. So, yeah. So hopefully, yeah, there's a third woman. Hopefully, Rutledge will match me with the right editor, and my dissertation will be turned into a book that's less dissertation, but still all the information, less academic and more readable and more easily acceptable. So, yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Shari. What a treat. The jaw drops never to come up again. I hope for everyone, and that this can inspire everyone to begin their journey of the reclamation of words, beginning with our own name and beginning with our own body parts, and discovering how we have been treating our body and what are the words that we're using. And this is really also part of the first sadhanas, really sacred rich practices we do when it comes to the yogi tradition, is to vaktapas, the austerity of words. What kind of words do we choose? Words that are priyam, that are pleasing and beautiful, and hitam, ultimately good, satyam, truthful, anudvega, free from harm. And so the power of words is profound. And I'm so grateful for you, Dr. Shari, for sharing all this profound wisdom and knowledge with us. You're a walking, talking encyclopedia. And I'm sure we all could listen for many hours, but for today, we're coming to an end. And Dr. Shari, like I mentioned before, often joins our courses with different lectures. And may we pray, we can pray that this book or dissertation can come out in the form of the book, and that we can all dive into the stories of the words and reclaim all those words that have been demonized. So we have a beautiful talk. Maybe Sylvia can help me find it. It's on YouTube, that Dr. Shari and I gave a year ago, and there is also a beautiful form where you could submit your answers, the words that you've grown up with when it comes to your own body, and especially the genitals. And we're collecting words from all countries and all languages to have a palette of an idea of the words that have been used, and also to create new words, because one thing is that we gotta also create new words, because it's hard to let go of the old words if we don't have new ones. So what are words that we can use to call ourselves and our beautiful different body parts and each other? So thank you, Dr. Shari, for being with us here again.
Thank you.
Also for the second time at Navaratri. And thank you all, everyone. We went a little bit over time, but this is how Devi is, the goddess. She is timelessness, unpredictable, unsustainable, and inexplicable wonder. And I love that we can just dive into timelessness. That's part of this journey to dissolve all time and space. And so I wish you all a wonderful night and dreams in which you can dive into and maybe get some visions, or may the goddess come to you in your dreams, and may you share them with us tomorrow. Also, all the impressions from today, it's a wonderful moment to let them sink in and then bring them tomorrow to the altar. And we're going to start tomorrow. Our first session is going to be with Ibu Robin, I feel so happy that Ibu Robin is going to join us. She is the founder of Bumi Sehat, a natural birthing clinic in Bali, in the Philippines, in different islands in Indonesia. She's CNN heroine. She's a mother, a grandmother. She's Filipina, Indonesian, American, and has helped women from around the world to help give birth to. She's a midwife. So she's given birth through helping other women for her whole life, basically. And I don't know how many babies she brought to this life, to this world, but I know it's thousands. So she is a wealth of knowledge, an embodiment of the Great Mother, and she has a really beautiful presentation for us that she's going to share with us tomorrow, the second day of our Navaratri Online Goddess Festival at 9 a.m. Then we have at 12 o'clock our second sadhana, our second Abhisheka Puja ritual to Durga Devi. And then we have our first Fierce Mother Circle with Anna Magdalena and with Shireen, dedicated to the Fierce Mother, which is symbolically dedicated to those that have gone through loss. So even if you have not lost a baby per se, but a loss, how can we deal with loss? Yes, Anna Magdalena and Shireen will dedicate some extra space to talk about the loss of pregnancy, abortion, etc. But it's not, you cannot come if you haven't gone through it. You're so welcome also to educate yourself, to know what's actually going on in the world, how to support other women that go through that experience, because it's still a very taboo topic, and very often women do not talk about when they go through a loss of pregnancy or any other loss. So it's a very beautiful opportunity to gather with each other and share, and also get to know each other. And then we have the evening with Monali Devi, a beautiful, my dear sister and student and friend from Bali, who is original from America, but with background Indian, and Kokpring and Koman, who are from Bali. Both, the three of them are going to offer us a very beautiful, special offering, which is a Balinese dance, Balinese art. And so they will offer us a Balinese dance to express the story of Rama. So I leave it with that. We have a full program tomorrow, and I look forward to being with you again and celebrate Navaratri together. Thank you so much for this first day, for all that you are. Lots and lots of love.
I don't know how to do that.
And if you want, you can unmute yourself and just share from your heart whatever your word comes, the first word that comes to you. And just like this, we're going to close.
Love, love, gratitude.
Abundance. Power. Blessed.
Strength.
Prosperity.
Bliss.
Sweetness.
Emerging.
Truth.
Grateful. And in the silence, all words exist. Om Tat Sat.